Welcome to my first 10-minute talk. Today I want to talk to you about progress. The faster you go, I believe in today's day and age, the slower you progress. I'm seeing it in corporates, I'm seeing it in personal lives, I'm seeing it with friends, I'm seeing it with everybody that I talk to about AI. Because AI is such a buzzword right now that we all believe that if we adopt AI at a fast rate, there are efficiencies to gain. We all move fast, and then famously, we all move fast and break shit. This has become the war cry of every unintelligible corporate out there. I do not believe that moving fast and breaking things is the way to get AI right today. I think we're focused on the wrong kind of AI in 2026. We're focused on artificial intelligence when we should be focused on the bigger concern, the apathy and indifference that comes with pushing AI and the resultant AI slop in the world. And the Roadrunner here illustrates this perfectly. This is an example that I'm looking at, that AI is a never-ending roadrunner, that the coyote is always going to chase and is likely never going to catch up and be satisfied. Because the faster the coyote goes, he'll never catch up to AI. He's just not that quick. All he's doing is losing out on all the other things along the way. My teams and I have been asked to run experiments. And then we do the experiment. We get the designer together, we get the engineer together, we get a product manager, we run the experiment, everything goes well. We learn a bunch of things, we figure out some bottlenecks, and then the organization ignores the bottlenecks and asks for the next experiment to be run because we did so well at pushing forward our production times. Now, all that happens is in the next experiment, those bottlenecks don't go away. We've moved too fast. We aren't taking on the lessons, learning them, fixing the bottlenecks so that we can go faster. Because sometimes if you're moving too fast and breaking things, then the things you've broken add to the technical debt and the AI debt created in your organization. Then you need to overcome those things. What you're going to do is use AI to try and overcome those things, and that leads to more slop. This is a never-ending cycle of AI slop because we are moving too quickly. We need to slow down to go fast. And this leads to a very deep organizational struggle. There are companies like the shoe brand Allbirds that was doing so terribly with shoes that it's now decided to flip to using AI and becoming an AI company. This is a wild thing that companies are doing because shareholders are asking them to. And this leads to one of the fundamental problems, right? There are lots of reasons that companies could be pushing AI in their organization. There are some good and some bad. It could be that the board is fidgety, that your competitors are pushing into AI and beating you to the market with faster products. And they can see that and they push leadership to then adopt AI at all costs. It could be that shareholders are speaking with their money and trying to get leadership to do the thing that everybody else is doing because it's the cool new thing, and they see all the other companies like Nvidia growing. It could also be that your organization is a top-down leadership structure and the leaders think that this is the right direction to go, but they aren't really considering the second and third order effects of their decisions. It could just be that you're at an incompetent company. That's totally possible too. There are lots of reasons to adopt AI. But the thing that I'm seeing is that leaders have the ability to unlock the resources in their organizations while the average employee does not. Take a look at this comic that I got ChatGPT to draw. The senior executive or the CTO is empowered to do whatever they want. They get to go forward, they get to move fast, they get to break things, and they get to deal with the ramifications because they're directly in conversation with their colleagues at the same level or the board and shareholders. But then they ask the junior engineer or the new hire or the mid-level person to do the same. But the mid-level person doesn't own the company. They don't have ownership. They don't feel like they can move fast and break things, even though leadership is saying so. They're locked in a little cage and they're unable to do that. They just haven't gotten over the social etiquette or the people management or the change management. They don't have access to the data that the CTO has. So they get stuck. It means that they don't feel comfortable going and speaking to the leaders, going and doing the things that a CTO can do. What we actually need to do is empower our people to ask the right questions and lay the foundation instead of letting the organization struggle because leadership or shareholders decide that this is how things should work. A great illustration is the Allbirds company, and they're not alone. Don't let your company adopt AI for AI's sake when organizational struggles are real. And one of those organizational struggles is the human cost. We obviously understand that AI is threatening jobs and that the world is doomed and nobody's going to work in the future. Like, everybody believes that. But I think we're quite a way away from that. So let's talk about the human cost of AI adoption at all costs. If you incentivize humans to use AI, do you know what's going to happen? They're going to use AI. They're going to use it to write documents. They're going to use it to read documents. They're going to use it to write emails and do sales and do everything. They're going to produce an order of magnitude more slop than your organization can cope with. This is why a human in the loop is so important. You can't go ahead and just let AI do and run and go and be crazy, because structurally your company is not ready and fit for this. The human cost of an organization changing its mind all the time, changing its direction all the time, and not supporting team members and teams sufficiently is that the team stopped trusting management. And when they stop trusting leadership and they stop trusting management, then they stop trusting the direction the company is going in, the vision, the mission, and everything else that comes along with it. That trust, when it is gone, is very hard to get back. Leadership pushing AI adoption has more than just the financial cost to consider. There's a human cost on the downside. Change management isn't the only thing. Change management is the only thing here that we're not considering. Change management, when people don't trust HR functions, is impossible. Change management, when basic decisions continually evolve, can't happen. The basic roadmaps need to be put in place, and then the human cost becomes immense if all of that keeps falling to the wayside. Your high agency people, they're going to leave. Your best performers are going to go somewhere where they do know how to do this, where change management is done properly, when the human cost of AI is considered into the decision making. So let's look at what it looks like when a human does not trust the system anymore. I call it a cascade that leads to the apathy arc. So the apathy arc is really simple. The human cost shows itself through an organization. Bad change management and bad leadership leads to mistrust in decision making. And when you don't trust decisions that your leaders are making, then the direction of the business is something you don't trust either. And you stop being curious about what's happening and where it's going. And when you stop being curious, you stop engaging. And when you stop engaging your critical mind, then AI slop takes over. You stop investing your own time, your own energy and attention in the things that might interest you about the work that you do. And what happens when you stop being curious and you stop engaging is you lean more heavily on AI. When you lean more heavily on AI, your curiosity withers, your boredom sets in, your apathy takes over, and indifference becomes your default. And an indifferent person with high agency is not a good thing for your organization. If your high agency people stay in your organization and they become indifferent and bored and apathetic, they're just rot inside of the organization. So you need to make sure that you are engaging their curiosity, giving them space to learn and be free and figure this out without the driving necessity of change and constant eradication of value that's created when a team just moves too fast and breaks things. And so eventually we have some organizational blind spots. What happens is it's totally acceptable that your best people will leave. That makes sense. It happens. Sometimes they're just not a fit. They got out of your organization because they're better off. But there is an AI blind spot at the moment. If somebody wants to slow down, if somebody is raising a flag and trying to do things in a more reasonable, more measured way, if somebody with high agency, high thought, and high execution chooses to slow down, they become othered. That team starts to become the least favorite team for leadership. They then start checking out. And what you're left with is high agency people who just say yes. That's the worst case scenario, is everybody in your organization who challenges leadership's thinking, challenges the roadmap, challenges processes, and makes sure that they're more robust and refined, leave. And what remains is 100% yes people. And when you have yes people and those decisions get pushed into the organization more and more, I guarantee you just have more slop. Because when you incentivize people to use AI and they are yes people, then they say yes and they use AI more. And when you have indifferent high agency people who leave, what happens is that leadership and management become defensive. They become defensive of their strategy, defensive of AI adoption that they're pushing, and defensive of decisions that they're making. That leads to organizational blind spots. The whole organization is focused on AI. We forget the bigger problems we have. Problems like very few people believe that HR teams are functioning and do what they need to do, especially in a world where things are moving so quickly. Nobody really believes that HR has their best interests at heart or even understand what the future looks like. Nobody is focused on your customer. And nobody is focused on the guardrails, the processes, the procedures, and getting rid of the meetings and the entropy inside of your organization. Because you are incentivizing people to adopt AI, that's exactly what they do, but at the cost of all the other parts of your business. And much like this image we're staring at now, you get AI slop because you're incentivizing your teams to use more AI, not to solve your customers' problems better, not to save your customers more money. We've forgotten about the customer and the team member. And so the fix is to slow down, to speed up, to recenter on your customer and your team, and to get your data, your policies, and your people right first. The fix is really simple and really obvious. Yes, people should be using AI. Yes, your job is becoming different. Absolutely. But it isn't your job as an employee to figure out what the guardrails are inside of your organization. It isn't your job just to say yes at all costs in case you lose your job. Your team needs to have the space, the time, and the freedom to be curious, to explore, and to figure out how their processes and procedures are changing, how the old methodologies that they used to implement will work today. How do designers and engineers work with product people when product managers can build and engineers can design and designers can engineer? How do finance and sales teams start providing opinion on how they believe products could improve with the customer experience? You have to help your teams figure this out. With them, not apart from them, so that they can buy into your vision on how AI should work. And if you don't do this, if you don't slow down to speed up, if you don't recenter on your customer and your teams first, and if you don't get the data policies and people right immediately, then all you'll be left with is a core group of yes men who do what you tell you, do what you say, adopt AI, and output slop. So today, right now, the one thing I need you to do is slow down, find the bottlenecks that are preventing you from moving fast, and spend a month fixing those bottlenecks before you experiment with AI anymore. That's it from me. Don't forget, AI incentives leads to AI slop.